Mature Life Radio, home of R&B and throwbacks, each and every Saturday right here. It's about us with Cheryl. And so, Cheryl, you got some special guests in with us already today.
Yes, I do on this beautiful Saturday. How you doing, big man? You all right?
I'm doing great.
Look good there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Today we have Dr. Gene of Good Friend Counseling Service and his beautiful wife, Tanya. Welcome her back when she came a couple of weeks ago. Today we're going to talk about mental health issue. Before we start, Dr. Gene, tell the audience about you, a little bit about yourself.
Well, by the way, Happy New Year, everyone.
Same to you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. I happen to be a mental health therapist. I've been practicing for at least 15 years, and I've worked with different type of population, different communities, as different problems, and we'll talk about some of these main problems. I've loved what I do. It's a passion of mine, and I've been doing this. Actually, I've been doing this more than 15 years because I remember I started with being more like someone that helped their family members, siblings, sibling rivalry in my own family. So this is the since then I figured this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I enjoyed it. The population I work with, the type of problems that I see, they're very difficult. It's not easy, but I'm proud to say that I see a big change in my clients, and since when they came in the room and see me after they left, I see that their life has improved, and they also will testify to this fact as well.
I'm going to go over some of the issues that you handle, and it's a lot. Substance abuse, depression, anger management, domestic violence, anxiety, but I tell you that I suffer with that, stress, PTSD, ADHD, parenting, grief and loss, bipolar disorder, and other mental health issues. That is a lot. Earlier, I asked Dr. Gene, I said, do you ever see somebody with all this issue? Like, do you see somebody? Because this is a lot of issues that you have to take on. I know we're going to have you to come back here because I know we're not going to be able to touch all the issues, but I want to get into the ones that really pop out I guess we have some friends and family that have all these problems right here, but I want to talk about depression. And I just had a family member about a couple of weeks ago committed suicide. And you say to yourself, why? Why would a person do that? What was on their mind? Why we didn't see it? Did we see it? We just overlooked it, like said, oh, they'll get over it. Dr. Gene, how can you tell us the signs for our family, friends, and for ourselves?
It's really kind of hard. I mean, given what we've been seeing in the media about people that appear to have they living a great life and they making a lot of money, and they still able to hurt themselves, and it's kind of hard to figure out who has depression. Nevertheless, that there's some signs about people that might be depressed. For example, that change of appetite, or either sleeping too much, or not eating, not sleeping too much, not sleeping enough, or you eating too much or not eating enough as well. I mean, there's clear stuff that depression is really when someone giving up on the things that they used to have passion for, and totally giving up. Not just that too, but also if the person had a certain communities they used to be part of, all of a sudden they're giving that up. They're giving a lot of stuff up. So depression, according to DSM-5, is which is the Bible that we use to diagnose people. It's you need at least 2 weeks of these symptoms.
Wow.
But nevertheless, that there's other form of depression that could last much longer, in adults and child. One of it is dysthymic, which is at least 2 years. And for adults and also for a child is at least 1 year. But nevertheless, it's something that is very difficult. It's not difficult to diagnose, but it's very important to understand that when someone is depressed, they're giving up certain things. They don't have the passion that they used to have for certain things. But nevertheless, appetite change is important to see that if they, either, and depression could also means eating too much or not eating enough, or that type of thing. So it's there's certain clear signs that could let someone to know whether or not they're depressed. Some people, they isolate themselves as well. As a form of depression. But isolation could also mean if they are using substance abuse and that kind of thing and so forth. So it's like giving up on certain things and now have the drive to do certain things. For example, some people, they don't want to get up anymore. Not just because they're tired, but they just don't feel like getting up. They don't have the motivation to do anything. So that could be a clear sign of a depression.
The last time when Tanya was here and Keith Martin and other gentlemen was here, we were talking about how in the Black community, back when we was growing up, that was a taboo. You didn't talk about that. You didn't talk about, I feel depressed. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Am I crazy? And how Tanya, how we were saying, and you got a demon in you. You got to pray this out of you.
Yes.
Mr. Henry, he over there, he crazy. You got to stay away, because at that time, the Black people didn't do that. Where the white majority was taking Valiums, going to see the psychiatrist. We was told you can't do that.
Well, from a man's standpoint of view, and it's not really something. It's not even something that's passed on a generation to generation. It's more of a generational curse. My wife and I did not want to go to counseling. I'm a man. I can handle my problems, not realizing that we needed to go together to counseling together so that we continue to grow our relationship as husband and wife. And that's when I realized, man, I've been making a big mistake about seeing someone to talk about your problems. And I think as a Black community, as minorities, however you want to, African Americans, I think part of the problem is that we need to get over the stigma of going to see the shrink. It's not a bad thing,
right?
And we need to get away from it. What just popped in my mind? Remember the TV series on HBO, Sopranos?
Yes.
That was like a big deal. You got the head of the mafia family, but he's going to see a shrink.
Yeah.
Because think about this: as some people have different anxieties that they deal with. Veterans have post-traumatic
PTSD.
Just the stress of everyday life and depression. So I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing this, and as a community, we need to be doing more of seeking help.
Yeah.
So that we can deal with our problems.
Hey, Paul Lewis on there. You see him, Kelly? Hey, Paul. You coming back on my show now, Paul. Okay, and you're gonna bring your whole group on there. Okay.
If I may say a couple of things.
Yes, go ahead.
It's I just want to support what you just said earlier about how you mentioned about how certain our communities, and especially the churches, they pray their problems away, not realizing that it's also a form of weakness for them to be weak, and sometimes they're more likely to share if they have a mental problem. They're more likely to share with their medical doctor. As opposed to seeing a therapist. Right. And unfortunately, in the African American or Black communities, in one way it's a good way to look at church or community as a support system. On the other hand, it's when you rely on the faith or community and exchange it for health support as opposed to seeing a therapist, it's a problem because there's a limitation to that.
Let me help you out. Even the Bible says faith without works is dead, which means you have to take action.
That's right.
Shameless shout out to my church, Redeeming Word Christian Center International. That's not one of the things that they believe in, and just there has to be an action in order for the faith to be activated. So our church is okay. We'll sit down with our pastors, but guess what? Even if the pastor doesn't have all the answers, the pastor will say, okay, well, we're going to recommend you to a specialist. That's what we do in our church.
Great.
It's yes, praying is a major part of it, because that helps you also identify the problem.
Right.
But it is the faith-based action that happens after that. What faith-based plan do you put together that is going to help you solve that problem? And part of it is seeking counsel.
And I'm glad your church does that, because I've also heard stories where the pastor take on the role of being the person to solve mental health problems, or either by addressing from the Bible perspective, and in the process thinking that, and the other thing too is this, I think one of the problems is that for some people, they assume that just because you're a therapist, you're a mental health therapist, if you're not Christian therapist, then you cannot work with someone that's a Christian. And I tell people, like, if your car stopped working, after you pray on your car, what do? Do you seek a Christian mechanic to fix your car, or do you fix a non-Christian mechanic? Sometimes people fail to think about these things, and I
that's
encourage
a whole nother show right there.
I encourage people to think about this stuff, because I think in our profession, we are not trained to teach you to move away from your religious belief. On the contrary, we use it as a way to help you in your. So a lot of people think just because you're not Christian, you cannot help someone that have that's Christian. And I kind of.
You're right. Right. I was, because like you were saying, it's like but when we was going on, how they prayed on you, it's like you got a devil inside you, you got a demon in you, and they didn't know it was like a mental problem. And I remember when growing up in Chicago, my brother and I, and when my mom died in Chicago, because we had a home here and we had one in Chicago. So my father would go back and forth and everything. And when my mom died, because I left here when I was 2 years old, and was raised in Chicago, I was like 13, 14 years old. And when my mom died, it was like my whole world changed.
Right.
I had, at the age, I was still young, my aunts and tried to come in, even my older cousin, but it still wasn't the same. So when I came here, it was a culture shock, for one thing, and miss my old friends, and I suddenly got this weird feeling. I couldn't even walk across the street without hyperventilating, without sweating, cold sweats, and I thought I was going to faint. I thought I was going to lose my mind. And so my father saw things, and I really never really discussed that till lately. And my father saw things about me, was like, "What is wrong?" He took me to see if I was a diabetic. If it was this, it was more of a health issue, physical health issue than mental. So then when he took me to this other doctor, and the doctor says, well, maybe we can put on some Valiums. So, and at the age, I was like 14, 15 years old. And my dad says, no, I'm not putting on no Valiums, because see, they did not know the word anxiety attack. They did not know the word like you have on here, grief and loss. So it's hard for a child to lose a parent at a young age, even at an older age, but more for a younger age, especially when you live with good and your friends up there. So that's why I was wanted to mention that too, is that the anxiety, about
Let me ask you this, because I'm actually in two places. We're on Facebook Live, but something I discovered today, I'm actually hosting what's called a watch party on Facebook Live on a separate. We got a call coming in right now. Let me try to get this call in. Hold on 1 second. Let's try to get our call in. Let me ask Mature Life Radio. Hello, who's this?
This Pastor Ernest.
Pastor Ernest, I saw you watching, and I sent you a message. We were talking about mental health and being people of faith. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
So I just wanted you to kind of comment on how these things actually work together, being faith-based or having a faith base and still having to get proper counseling. How do these things work together?
Well, we as the people of God, we have to learn, number one, how to trust God and trust God to bring change, but and know that God will bring change and that God will do what He said He will do. But we also have to understand that there is an issue as well.
Right.
And I want to use this analogy basically. When I have a toothache, I do pray for it, and the pain do subside. I may pray, I may speak in tongues, but I do go to the dentist and get that tooth extracted. When my eyes started getting weak, I did pray for it, but at some point I did get LASIK eye surgery to make my vision better. And I just think we as the people of God can't continually, because people are losing their life because we're not really dealing with the issue at hand. Mental health is for real, and I actually work in a mental health facility, so I see it daily. I also pastor a church, and I see it daily. To be honest with you, we can't lose the faith and trust in God, but we also cannot lose the side of reality that says, I have some issues and I need to get help, or my family member have issues and need to get help.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
No, listen,
yes,
absolutely,
it does.
Pastor.
Yes, it does.
We thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't forget, we're here every Saturday at 2:00. So we encourage you to tune in and thank you for participating. And we have a lot of people watching us, and I know sometimes people may be scared to post the comments or call in. But thank you for joining us. Actually, I'm looking on the watch party side, and we got a question for Dana Jones that I'm gonna try to get answered. But she says, I just prayed, and the answer I was looking for is here.
Wow! Wow!
That's awesome. That's awesome because and then people feel embarrassed. To be honest with you, they feel embarrassed to come out and say, "Hey, I'm dealing with depression, or I'm dealing with this," because they're safe, because they have position, because they have and I'm seeing it all the time, people in position, pastors, apostles, people with position and titles, because they're dealing with something and they don't want it, they're too embarrassed to be able to say, yeah, I'm an apostle, but I'm dealing with this. And then months later or years later they end up blowing their brains out. That's and people are wondering, oh, my goodness, what happened, because they weren't able, they felt that the church would look at them crazy, thinking that they denied the power of God if they would open their mouth and say, I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the precious gift of the Holy Ghost, but I'm dealing with depression.
Thank you.
Pastor, would you do me a favor with Cheryl, with your permission? Would you hang in with us during the break? Because I think one of the things that is important that we do need to continue to address with mental health is how important mental health and faith needs to work together.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So would you hang in with us for a little bit through the commercial?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short commercial break. You guys stay with us on Facebook Live. We'll be right back here. It's About Us with Cheryl on Mature Life Radio.
At Elite Roads, you can shop for custom-made wheels, rims, and tires. Go to our website, www.eliteroads.com, or call us at 954-513-4103. We have a wide range of options for high-performance wheels, rims, tires, light truck tires, and SUVs. We have discount tires and wheels in stock available every day. You can also order online from anywhere in the country. And we have custom rims and chrome wheels for any kind of vehicle. That's Elite Roads, located at 4751 Powerline Road. We offer financing up to $5,000 without credit, and we're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and we're closed on Sunday. Call us today at 954-513-4103, and we'll make it happen.
All American Roofing is a family-operated business with over 29 years' experience. They're state certified with over 50 trucks on the road. They offer financing and free estimates. Call them today during this hurricane season for your roofing needs. They offer a 24-hour roadside service for their customers. Call them today in Broward County at 954-772-7663 or visit their website at allamericanroof.com. That's allamericanroof.com.
There's nothing more embarrassing than having guests come to your home or business and have little critters come out to greet your guests. Manning Brothers Pest Control are professionally trained to handle all your problems in your home or business. Call us today at 954-772-3077. Here's 6 reasons why
Pastor,
you need
you
to
still
call
there?
Manning
I'm here.
Brothers
Okay,
Pest
hold on.
Control. We provide comprehensive assessment. We have experienced and trained technicians. We are fully licensed and insured. Check out our reviews. We guarantee complete customer satisfaction. Give us a call at 954-772-3077. That's Manning Brothers Pest Control at 954-772-3077. Or visit our website, www.manningpest.com, for 24 hours a day service.
Look at all these roaches around me every day. Need something strong to make them go away.
Mature Life Radio, home of R&B and throwbacks. Once again, it's about us with Cheryl. And Cheryl, if you could introduce your guest one more
Yes,
time.
we have Dr. Jean. Dr. Jean is with Good Friend Counseling Service and his beautiful wife, Tanya. Before we go any further, because we're getting a lot of people on Facebook, can you give us your information, how we can get in contact with you, please?
Yes. My phone number is, I have 2 phone numbers. One is just 305-542-6903. 305-542-6903. The other one is 954-840-GOOD, which is 4663. I'm located in the Hollywood area, right across the Target on Hollywood, next to Taco Bell, inside the Region Bank.
Just the address is 450 North Park Road, Suite 801. So we're definitely centrally located. So if you're north, south, east, or west,
Okay.
it's within reach.
Okay, can you give that phone number out again?
Yes, the phone number, I have 2 phone numbers, but the main one is 954-840-GOOD 4663. 954-840-GOOD 4663.
And real quick, because we got the pastor still on the line with us, and what I wanted to do was just delve a little bit more into how the counseling world and the spiritual world should be working together. Pastor, you there?
Yes.
Okay. Again, like I said, I boasted about my church, and we don't just take part of the faith base is praying and finding scripture to support that. But again, that's why I quoted the Bible. Faith without works is dead. Am I right or wrong, Pastor?
You are 100% right.
So the faith is first thing, believing in the healing.
Right.
If I'm not, and again, Pastor, please correct me if I'm wrong. And taking the steps with your community church to stand behind you. And then secondly, for that church to not only get you the faith-based help, but the physical-based help.
Yes. Yes.
Do you agree? And is that a practice in your ministry?
Yes, and I agree. And I've actually told other pastors who've come to me, and I've visited their churches, and they say, hey, I have this person that's dealing with a demon, or this person that's dealing with this, and this person that's dealing with that. And one of the reasons I think pastors have to become knowledgeable of these type of things is because everything is not a demon. Some things are just mental health. And you learn to understand this when you surround yourself around like this gentleman, the doctor, or you watch things like this, or because anytime you deal with people, you have to come to understand people and flesh and things, and a person that's dealing with a mental illness, it don't mean that they're a sinner. It don't mean that they're not saved. It just simply means that they're made up of flesh, and flesh have issues. And the faith-based world and the medical, I mean, it has to come together, as one to really understand. And when we don't, people end up suffering and losing their life or having a misunderstanding of one or the other.
Let me say this as a lay person. Cheryl, you touched on this a little bit. It's important when you're looking for a therapist, when you as an individual have realized that I have an issue that I need to perhaps get some additional help from, you need to find therapists that they don't necessarily have to believe in the same religion or the same faith. But if you're a believer, it's in your best interest to at least try to find a mental health professional that is also a believer, so that they have the tools to tie those two together. Because if you're a believer and you go to a therapist, let's say, who's not a believer, then they may be apt to say, forget about God. God has nothing to do.
I would get up there.
I rebuke that.
I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I would walk right out of there and say, see me when you do believe in the Lord, because you will soon, because I'm going to pray for you.
Yeah. But I would say most therapists, it is almost like the general rule is, I can't speak for there's when we talk about therapists, that can mean different things.
Right.
Explain that to us.
But when we talk about people that are qualified to work with solving mental health problem as opposed to other problems. Now, having said this, doesn't mean that I might not get someone in my office that might be struggling with some kind of spiritual issues, but it also affects their personal lives. My job as a therapist is also not to push the person from their belief. It is the right therapist would not do that. It will not. If the person is Christian faith is not, they're not going to tell the person, well, get out, don't go, change religion. They're not supposed to do that. It's really unethical. They're not supposed to do that. So, however, maybe there's some people might do it. I don't know, but this is the general rule. This is way.
Pastor, we're going to open up the lines and try to get some other people calling. But if you could, please, because one of the things I believe in having this platform is promoting. If you come on this show, promoting where you are. So if you could please give us where your church is located and how people can reach you. If there's a website or an app, please give out the information.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Kevin. All right. God bless.
No, I'm waiting for you.
I thought you were saying put it on. Okay. Okay, we are the Impact Center.
Too, because I know you're on the watch party. But please say it publicly, and please post it on the post the information on the.
Okay, will do. Pastor Ernest Gonder, the Impact Center, and our church is in Deerfield Beach. It's at 77 Northwest 5th Street, Deerfield Beach. 33441, and our Sunday school is 12:30, and our regular worship service is 1:15. So, which means you can wake up late.
All right, do me a favor, send me a DM with your contact information, because there's some other things that we need to be talking about.
Absolutely.
Sidebar next week, Sheriff Scott Israel should be on. We'll be talking about that shortly. So
awesome.
All right.
Okay. All right. Take care.
I want to say hello to Bruce Brenda. He's out there watching, and Keith Martin. Hey, Keith.
Yep.
We got to get you back on here. Your girl is in here in the show today, in the studio today. But Dr. Jean, let me ask you a question. Okay, break it down for some people. Okay, you got depression, you got anxiety, and you got stress. Break that down for me. For some people who want the difference. What's the highest? What's the lowest? What's the middle? Break that down to me. We're like, okay, what is stress? How you can tell about stress? How you can tell about depression? How you can tell about anxiety?
Okay, so we already have an idea what depression is. Now, depression is more than, sometime to answer you asked me a question earlier about depression. I just remember something else too. The reason why it's hard it's not hard. It could be hard to diagnose, because anger could be. People that suffer from depression are more likely to get irritable, angry. So sometimes, now, just because you're angry doesn't necessarily mean you're depressed. But nevertheless, if you are depressed, there's a high chance that you might be angry. Think about it. A lot of time in you ask yourself, why, for example, in funerals, for example, there's fights. Well, first of all, because people are grieving, they're depressed, they have guilt. And then the guilt, all about guilt is also, there's a lot of blame. I could have done this. I should have done more for this person.
Right.
And then this emotion causes people just to lash on each other, right? So anger by itself, there's a lot of stuff that can contribute to anger, frustration, disappointment, and it can resemble depression. So as far as anxiety is concerned, sometimes people try to avoid certain things. They have some fear about certain things and they try to avoid it and so forth. But we all need some level of anxiety or stress to function in our society. But the problem is this: too much of something is bad, right? So our job is not to try to run away from anxiety as much as it is to try to control it. And because when there's no anxiety or some level of stress, then why am I doing this?
Right.
Is it worthwhile doing it? So there's obviously too much of it, definitely too much of it. There's what we call too much of it is definitely bad. Now, my PhD is on performance anxiety, so I know quite a lot of things about anxiety. Nevertheless, that I would say that it is something that after depression, that's another one that comes in. Depression could also coexist with anxiety. So all those things are related, whether it's depression, anxiety, or stress. Now, stress serves some kind of function. It tells us this is important, and because of that, we have to. For example, if a tiger walks in the room, you're going to see me flying out the window, right? How did that happen?
Anxiety and stress. I know.
Now, in a sense, it's good for us because it's survival, right? I need to fly out the window. I don't know if I can fly out the window, but maybe I will. I don't know. There's no telling what you're going to do. It's a matter of survival. But nevertheless, that you don't want too much of it. And that's what happened. After I fly out the window, I will incorporate myself. Then I might tell you, maybe I need to go to sleep or maybe I need to eat. But before that, I'm not thinking about eating or sleeping, nothing like that. I'm thinking about survival. So there's a lot of people suffer from anxiety. And the way they deal with it is by, unfortunately, they go through substance abuse or they go through other risky behaviors as a way to cope with anxiety. So there's bad coping skills, there's good coping skills. As far as so they're really pretty much in some ways could be related, but they could coexist or exist by themselves as well. When we talk depression, anxiety, or stress.
Okay, I remember when we was little, and you know how your parents used to tell you, okay, this is adult conversation, go play outside or go in your room. So me and my brother, we used to, if they having a party or something like that, we kind of listen. I remember like my dad and my uncle, they used to talk about, I remember my dad said something about, man, this stress going to kill me. So being little, you'd be like, what is stress? I don't want to get that because I don't want to die from that. I don't know what that is. But then when you get older and you meet the real world, you see what stress is all about. And how can you control that? I know is that a hard question for me to ask you, or what can you do about controlling that stress?
Well, first of all, you don't want to try to push it away too much. That's one thing, because the more you push it away, the more it's going to come back. And also try to understand that it serves a function.
Okay.
You may not be happy with it. You feel uncomfortable. You don't like it, but it doesn't mean that it's part of who we are. It's something that is innate, right? I don't like to get up early in the morning. I just hate to do that. I feel like I need to sleep a little more. Some people might like to do that. I just don't like that. But I just still do it anyway. I don't like it, but I do it anyway. And a lot of us probably have to do the same thing, So therefore, how to cope with it is also to learn to understand what it is, and understanding that you should not try to push it away as much as controlling it. How you controlling it? Then you're trying to focus on changing the way you receive it, changing what it means to you. So instead of looking at this stuff is out to get me, you could say this stuff, I need this stuff as a way to help me.
Doc, we actually got a couple questions that I'm seeing people come up with on the watch party.
Yes.
Dana says, please explain suicidal. I'm trying to pronounce.
Ideation?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm this is something that's a term that's new to me, so that's why I'm kind of like, what? So explain to us, what is it? And I get, because I've never heard of that before.
Well, it's pretty much when you thought about hurting yourself, and for some people, they extreme cases, they already have a plan and ways that they doing that. But it's more in the sense that it's just that you thought about hurting yourself, maybe, and you probably have some plan or not, but you're thinking about hurting yourself, and you figured this is the way for you to be at a better place, or end your pain, whatever pain you're experiencing at the time.
Wow.
Can you, before I ask this next question that someone posted on online, can you please give out your contact information once again?
Yes, the contact information is
Good Friend Counseling Services at
Mhm.
450 North Park Road, Suite 801, and that's in Hollywood, Florida. And the number is 954-840-GOOD, and that's 4663 on your phone. So again, Good Friend Counseling Services, 954-840-GOOD, with no E on the end. So that's 4663.
So Bruce Brighton says, what are positive ways to handle stress? And that's why I wanted to give out your information, because I don't want to just, sometimes we take the information that we see or hear, whether it's online or in a situation like this, and think that's the resolve to fixing the problem.
Right.
That's what you guys are here for. That's what you've worked and gotten your PhD. So we want to make sure that they contact you. And it's not just a quick fix.
Well, some of the positive ways of working out stress, I hope for most of us we're already doing it. It's about survival, and we start by exercising on a regular basis. We start by eating the proper meal and nutritional meal. We try to minimize, have a balanced life. A balanced life is important, and you work hard, you sort of play hard. And I don't mean to do anything illegal. I don't mean to go ahead and waste your life by using substance abuse or drinking alcohol. I'm talking about taking care of yourself without going over the edge, right? So then you need to have some kind of like distraction from day-to-day activities or work. If you work 8 hours a day, you need to have a habit of doing something. When you come home, you need to do something. It could be exercise, it could be reading. I enjoy playing the piano. I love to play my piano.
Oh, cool.
And for me, this is like a stress relief. I see a lot of people, a lot of problems. Don't think I'm not immune from these problems.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I've been doing this for a long time, so it does not bother me at this point. I think I've learned to manage it quite well. But certainly that I still need to make sure I continue to take care of myself. And so these are probably some of the main ways. Certainly be connected with people. Faith is a great place. Community church is a good place to go, and it's almost like a positive distraction. I haven't gone to any church yet that tell you go ahead and kill yourself. You want to kill yourself? Go ahead and kill yourself. I haven't heard any church that will tell you to do that. So it's good. It's a good place to go, and I encourage people to continue doing that as well.
And if you need something else, call Good Friend Counseling.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good Friend Counseling. There you go.
840-GOOD, because sometimes you do all those things and you may still need some help.
That's true.
Get some help.
So there's a part to the question in how is it pronounced again?
Dr. G? Or
No, the
suicidal ideation?
Suicidal ideation.
Yes.
Part two to this is once you have identified the trigger, how do you address it?
Suicidal ideation?
Yes.
Well, I would say seek, first of all, depending, if you have just the ideation, that means just the thought, sometimes just thoughts or whatever and that kind of thing. Now, I think that thought is just enough for you to seek counseling immediately. And I would say you could pray about it, but certainly when you get into a situation like this, you definitely want to seek help to a professional. Now, when I say to a professional, we're really talking about people that qualify to do it. Normally, a professional in the field would have some kind of master's degree in mental health or marriage family therapy or social worker, and they also would be licensed, because without license, you cannot practice. And you may not know a lot of stuff with the master's degree, but you certainly need to be licensed. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you work with someone, if you go to someone and they don't have a license, then it's on you. And they're not supposed to practice without license unless they have someone on top of them that
They're
are
working
licensed,
under umbrella. Okay.
right? So it's very important that you seek a help with that, and hopefully that the lot of clergy men and or people in the religious community would also encourage people to seek help, knowing that when it is beyond the pastor, I would say expertise.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that, once you pray, or maybe you cannot pray anymore, you have to go and seek some help.
That's right.
Right. And then, as the pastor was mentioned, after he prayed, he's just going to go to the hospital or get something happen, as opposed to just sitting there wishing praying your problem away.
That's right.
Let me also ask you, because there's another question which just came up in regards to vitamin levels and things. I guess want to kind of touch a little bit on health. And Cheryl, you kind of talked about this earlier a little bit. For instance, I'm diabetic, and I realized that being diabetic can actually affect my mood.
Oh yes.
So how does your physical health affect your mental health, even when it comes to maybe, let's say, having a vitamin deficiency? That's what somebody just asked. Can vitamin D levels bring on depression?
Right. Let me be careful about addressing this question, because I'm not a medical doctor.
Right.
So I have to be careful to address that. Now, here's what I could tell you. That what I know is that if mental health illness could bring a physical problem. Mental health illness could bring a physical problem. So, for example, that if you suffer a lot, for example, if you have extreme stress, anxiety, that could turn to some kind of contribute to some kind of problem that you never had before.
Things brought on by stress.
Yes, exactly.
Which could cause hypertension, eating disorders.
Exactly. Even in our own community, we are upfront as far as diabetes, hypertension, and other illnesses as well. But so therefore, it's I would say definitely you need to work with your medical doctor, and also you need to also see a mental health therapist. I get a lot of referrals from doctors because their job is also to, when they notice someone could benefit from my service, they refer. And also my perspective as well, when I'm seeing a client and I see there's a physical problem as well as a mental problem, I also I tell them, make sure you follow up with your medical doctor about those things. So we kind of work hand in hand, and we know our limitation.
Right.
And so forth.
I gotta mess with Dana. Stop apologizing, Dana. Oh. She said that she didn't know that Black or African American psychiatrists existed.
Wow.
But again, that's part of why we're here is because we want people to know, and it's about getting the information out, because the reality is there's a huge mental health problem.
Let me say a couple things. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Well, but you are, but
I'm a mental health doctor, mental health therapist, right? To make sure,
yeah. So and I know it gets, because it breaks down to so many different.
Yes, it does.
Because I actually have a friend who's a MD. She's a medical doctor and a she's got she has both.
Right.
She can actually prescribe medicine.
Yes.
She can do physical. So I get it, and there's a whole different
right.
Look, I'm just a DJ.
I want to get on this because it seems like all this is going to come under this. This is going to be like the top that can cause the depression, the anxiety attack, is grief and loss.
Yes.
How can you handle somebody that had somebody who committed suicide or had somebody that went on? How can you tell them about that? Because sometimes they will start getting into that depression.
Yeah, you just because you have grief and loss could easily turn to depression. Remember, depression is at least the person needs to have at least 2 weeks of the symptoms. Now, for grief and loss, it could be less than a week. It could be even more. So grief and loss could easily turn to depression. We know that. I always tell people with this that suffer from that have someone that it's called bereavement. You grieving. It's something hard to do, and sometimes people would they would continue. They would walk. They continue to go to school or go to work, but just because they appear to be functioning doesn't mean that inside they're doing well. They're grieving. And so with grieving, there's got to be what I do in my practice with grieving. I talk about the person, and in a lot of churches, a lot of places, they celebrate the funeral. It's like funeral is almost like a celebration, but a celebration is also a form of closure as well. It allows people to close in their ways as about what was great about. They rather talk about what some of the things the person was doing as opposed to focus on that they're no longer here. So there's a different way to look at that grief. So having a closure with grief is very, very important. Talking about because the closure would help understanding that the person no longer there, but yet life goes on, and how could you continue to maintain your life?
As a layperson, I just want to comment. I think that people have to also understand that it's a process. When you talk about grief and loss, I'm sure we've all experienced it on one level or the next. Is that maybe you were okay in 2 weeks, but it may take me 2 months, or it may take someone else 2 years, or it may take someone else 20 years. So I think we all have to be realistic with the expectations and not try to put what we think or the timetable that we think.
That's right.
To other people.
Right. And then there's also something else that's very clear. There's different stages of grieving, the denial, anger. Like normally when you see a person, the first reaction would be, oh my goodness, it didn't really happen. Or I don't believe it.
So surreal that
it's like unbelievable.
Yes.
And then you get that angry feeling inside of you, and your life you can't live your life or whatever, and that kind of thing. And then the last stage, is when you accept that the person went on, and after the funeral, or maybe weeks or years, but nevertheless, it's still something going to be difficult for you to deal with. Maybe the person's birthday going to remind me of something. Christmas could remind me of something, but yet as the days goes on, I think, time helps somewhat heal things as well. But it's very important for the healing process to take place the way a smooth healing process. It could be done by seeing a therapist and talking about the depression, talking about the what you like about the person, talking about their accomplishment. These things, and a lot of people have a lot of guilt feeling. They feel like, I could have done more. I could have done, and that's why people tend to fight in funeral, because of guilt. And they're depressed. In some ways, it resemble very much like depression. You get angry. All those things I've talked about earlier about depression and anger all comes to life.
Please, and once again, please give out your information so people, because I notice we have a lot of people tuning in, because I'm watching the watch party and both on my regular Facebook Live. So please give us your information. I'm going to post it as well on the Facebook Live. So give us your information. People need to contact.
That is Good Friend Counseling Services. The address is 450 North Park Road, Suite 801 in Hollywood, Florida. And the phone number is 954-840-GOOD. And that's 4663. So 954-840-4663.
Dr. Jean, let me ask you a question. Say, for instance, somebody like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning having a depression, think about suicide. Do you have like a 24-hour service number they can call you, or how they can get in contact?
The general rule is if you have those thoughts and it cannot, you have those thoughts of hurting yourself, I would say in some cases, I would tell people to just check themselves into some kind of hospital, because it's not the type of thing that, not all therapists are, awake around 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. There are some helpline. I don't have a line that a 24 hours line, but there's helpline that you could also call. But if you feel that you can't, I would say before you do anything, call someone, check yourself into some kind of hospital if you cannot wait. And after the hospital, then there's a follow-up also to see a therapist. Now, some people, they just thought about hurting themselves. They don't have any clear plan. But I don't want to discriminate as far as who should wait or not. I would say that if you're in a situation that you cannot find help right away when you need it, then I would say check yourself to the hospital first and foremost.
Well, I want to touch on this too. Sometimes when you listen, you're watching TV,
Yes.
and some of the medication people are taking, it might cause this, it might cause suicide. I'm like,
Yes.
damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Right.
And I'm just want to say, people out there are listening, please, I beg you from my heart, and I'm sincerely from my heart. If you're having any kind of problems, any kind of mental issue, you're not depression, anxiety, please seek help. That's why we're here, to help you, to help yourself, and to help others. It can be confidential. Dr. Jean is not, he can't talk about that to nobody else. If you're embarrassed, don't be embarrassed. I went through this anxiety attack. I spoke about it. And I'm sure somebody next to you has the same problem, but they're scared. They're embarrassed. This is nothing to be embarrassed about. This is happening. This is part of life, what is going on. So please, again, say that number. And it's confidential. You don't have to tell nobody.
That number again is 954-840-GOOD. So 954-840-4663.
It's so much, Kelly, we want to talk about, and we can't cover because I'm having Dr. Jean and Tanya back in about the next week or so, because
that's fine.
we need to talk about domestic violence. He does PTSD, parenting. We're going to focus on that later. But we got a few minutes we can talk about, if you can throw this into this bipolar disorder.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, Cheryl.
Bipolar disorder is very complex. There's nothing is easy, but anyway. But certainly there's, so when we talk about bipolar, this what we call bipolar 1, bipolar 2. Bipolar 1 is mostly with the depression, and we call this mania. So that means a person might be feeling excited, they're happy, to the point where they want to conquer the world, to the point where they can't sleep. Now, if somebody can't sleep at night and can go hours without sleeping, that's questionable. But yet, in the process,
I just had a big question mark pop over my head, because that's
you saw I looked at you, right?
In a process, well, you cannot sleep because you just because you cannot sleep doesn't mean you have bipolar. But yet, nevertheless, that when we're talking about bipolar, we're talking about someone that's extremely excited about something, and to the point where they go to do extreme situations. Like, for example, they might go gambling, or they might want to go to a long road trip because they can't sleep, or they want to gamble. They feel like this is their day, their time. In the process, they lose money and that type of thing. And also, so the mania is like they're really excited about it, something, to the point where they prevent it from going to sleep, and they have this grandiosity idea that he could conquer the world. Now, comes with that, and then the other time they feel depressed, like they just don't feel like getting up anymore.
So it's an extreme.
Like a swing,
Right,
like a
extreme.
swing,
Right. So that's the bipolar 1. Bipolar 2 is less of the excitement. The bipolar is more, it's a little bit of mania, but not that much. More of the depressive mood than anything else. So number 1, you see both. They being extremely happy and then extremely sad. The other one, you see more depressed than anything else.
That is our time. Before we go, I knock at that number again.
All right, so that's Good Friend Counseling Services, 954-840-GOOD. 954-840-4663.
And I'm pleading to you again, if you need help, please give Dr. Jean a call. If not Dr. Jean, call somebody. Please, I beg you this from the bottom of my heart, seek help. Not injuries, seek help.
And just want to remind you guys that we have scheduled next Saturday Sheriff Scott Israel to be on the show with us.
Yes, I cannot wait for that.
As you know, it was announced that he was suspended by the governor. And so hopefully we'll be sitting down with Sheriff Scott Israel next Saturday and having a one-on-one right here on It's About Us with Cheryl.
Until then, peace, and we love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many blessings.
Thank you.
All American Roofing is a family-operated business with over 29 years' experience. They're state certified with over 50 trucks on the road. They offer financing and free estimates.